Welcome back to the channel. We're going to be looking at the second book in the Planet Pirate series, which is called Sassinak. This story written by McCaffrey and Elizabeth Moon. And before we get into that, as always, I just ask that you please like, subscribe, turn on notifications so you know when new videos are coming out. Leave a comment down below. I love hearing from you, and I always respond back. And spread the word. I appreciate it. I appreciate all your support. So going into this one, it's shorter than The Death of Sleep, but it reads much longer because there's so much more that goes on. And the story starts off with Sassinak as age 12 on the planet Myriad. Now, her colony on the planet basically gets invaded by planet pirates. And the kids' jobs are basically get the weapons to the parents and the adults and let them fight. Well, the planet pirates win, and she gets taken prisoner. Her sister, Lunzi, remember that name from the first story, Death of Sleep, is killed, and her brother is basically lost. So she doesn't even know where he is. So she's basically being trained, and then she's sold, and then she's trained again, and she is basically being trained as a pilot. So she's getting a lot of mathematics, a lot of engineering going. And even though she's a slave, she's learning these skills, but she's learning them so the traders can then, the slavers, I should say, can then sell her for more. Well, she comes across a fellow slave by the name of Abe, who says that he's Fleet. And he says once Fleet knows, they never forget. And Abe's right. Her colony, or not her colony, but her slave dome, she is rescued by Fleet. And she has no family. There's nobody really there for her. So Abe takes her in as basically as a foster child, a foster daughter, and he teaches her all these things Fleet. He no longer can actually be in Fleet. He's got injuries and just the mental things that have happened to him on his mission is something that he can't do anymore. So he's basically instilling in Sassinak all of these traits of somebody that that if you're in Fleet, you're going to benefit from, and just even in life, you're going to benefit from. And she goes to the academy, the Fleet Academy, and there she basically graduates at the top of her class, and is made. She's put on a big cruiser to start, which doesn't happen. So as they're celebrating this, she's with Abe, and they're celebrating in this place, and there's a fight that starts as she's going to get the drinks for her and Abe to celebrate and toast. And in this brawl, Abe gets killed. And we wonder, okay, who is it? And was this something that was pre-planned? Because the fight comes out of nowhere, really. And it's like all these different factions kind of fighting together within this restaurant bar kind of thingy. And it's tough to really figure out why it even begins in the first place. And she hasn't forgotten that. And she goes in really with a sense of not liking what they call the heavy worlders, which are genetic humans they're bigger, stronger. Not necessarily better, just bigger and stronger, more dominant in terms of physicality. And she wants to bring down planet piracy. And her first job is she's in the communication aspect. So she's proving herself on this first voyage. And she does fairly well. And then we jump forward, and now all of a sudden she's becoming a captain. She's commanding a ship. She's going to be commanding her own fleet, which Abe would have been proud of. Obviously, her family would have been proud of. And she's basically just trying to get used to it all, because, I mean, obviously there's not like a ton of women in the position that she's in. And they're out on a mission, and it's kind of interesting, the ship that they end up on, the Zaid Dayan. Remember, it comes up in the book The Death of Sleep with Lunzi. So they're on this mission basically just looking for planet pirates, and then it's just, if they find them, to survey, to just basically do surveillance, find out where they're going. And they come across a ship, and she follows it to this colony, and they're raiding the colony. They're taking the kids and killing the adults. And the crew, even her lovers, and we gotta do something. We have to do something. We cannot just let them die down there. And Lunzi wants to so much. She wants to do this, but she can't, because her orders are basically to survey. So basically, a little battle ensues, and her lover, who's also sort of like her second in command, they're able to take the slaver ship, the ship that has the slaves on it, and he goes on it to basically take it back. It becomes his ship, and he takes it back with the message that the Zaid Dair is still out there. And they've gotten a lot of damage. Pirates actually infiltrated the ship, and there was battle, shooting and explosions and all that inside of the ship, and it makes this huge kind of hole. So they're on this moon, basically hiding, trying to just figure out, what are we going to do. And she really wants to find another pirate ship and go on another chase. Except, her engineer is telling her that can't do it. We don't have that kind of resources. We've lost 20% of our oxygen, and our biosystems are crap. Whether it's due to sabotage or whatever, because every crew has now what they call a traitor, a saboteur, in there. And Sassinak starts to feel that there may not be just one. There might be more than that, because you had somebody that left the hatch open, even though it was said it was an accident. Somebody fired a missile while they were trying to be invisible, letting the pirate ship know they're there. So that's two. And then there's a heavy worlder that isn't really a heavy worlder. She was not adaptable, and she was told that she would not amount to anything, that she was a failure and all this and that, and she tries to poison the crew, but it's not for the pirates. It's more to please the people that she felt she failed. So Sassinak starts to feel there's more. There is at least one saboteur. Chances are there's more. There probably are more than one. So they finally are able to make it back to the fleet HQ, and the ship's going in for repairs, and she's got to go before this inquiry board, who are basically looking at every decision that she made, and they're questioning every decision she made. Some of it they find is on the good tactic side, and some of it just seems kind of nutty that you even did that. You let them board your ship. That just seems crazy to them. Now, of course, some of these guys haven't been on ships in like forever, and some of them haven't been on ships during a battle. So they wouldn't. So the way she looks at it is they would never know what you have to go through here. And they didn't take a lot of casualties, though they did take some, and it hurt her because, like Abe told her, when she was going through fleet, it's a lot different when it's in your command. If it's somebody else's command and people are dying, it doesn't hurt, it doesn't hit you as hard. But when it's your command, when it's your order that leads to these deaths, it hurts. And she carries that. So, as they're still getting the ship fixed, and this is a very quick wrap-up, because, there's a lot that goes on in this story, and I'm reading the omnibus version, and I'm breaking it down, because if I try to do all three in one, I could be sitting here for over 2 hours talking to you about these stories. I still got another one to go, with a third one to go. But anyway, she has another meeting with somebody who basically can tell her, yeah, you can get another assignment, or no, you're not. But this person likes her and is partial to her, and he basically says, you know what, I like your gumption. I like the fact that you've shown guts. Whether they can see it on that board or not is immaterial, but you've got it, and you're willing to think outside of the box. So she basically gets the same ship, and they go out, and basically she's going to get the same mission. And she said, but this time there's one condition, though. She's being bold enough to make a condition to go back into the field and command a ship. But she says, this time, I don't want to just be surveillance. I want to be able to jump in if a ship becomes hostile to a colony. Because it's happened once, and my crew, one, they let me know they didn't like it, which the guy's like, well, they shouldn't be telling their captain that they don't like it, that they should be questioning your decisions. And she's like, well, I've heard it from some people, hearing things throughout the ship. But some have told me that they didn't like that idea, and I don't like that idea. So he thinks, and he's like, okay, I will put that in, that you can take on a hostile ship. But my condition is that you don't just run into a fight because you want to. He's like, basically your stunts here and all the repairs that we're having to do have basically bankrupted us for 18 months in repairs. So be careful next time. So then we come across the next voyage, which is years down the line. And they come to a planet, they come across a ship that they're following, and they don't really trust the ship. So they're following it, and it's by this planet named Irida. And for big diehard Anne McCaffrey fans, there's 2 books in our Irida series called Dinosaur Planet and Dinosaur Planet Survivors. I haven't read them. I don't really plan on reading them for this. If you think I should read them, leave a comment down below. But this ship is basically said, well, we're following a beacon, an emergency beacon. And Sassinak's like, where? We're not picking anything up like that. And they find that there's people, there are the heavy worlders that were mutineers, if you remember from the end of the death of sleep. And then there are the ones that are just being woken up from cold sleep. Now, one of the ones that are in cold sleep is Lunzi, her great 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 grandmother. And she missed 72 years. She was in cold sleep for 72 years in the death of sleep. When they awaken her here, it's been 46 years from the time of the beginning of this story to, or really the ending of the death of sleep until this point. 46 years. She's 36. She's younger than her great 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 granddaughter. How weird would that be? And Sassinak just doesn't know what to do with this because she's like, she's younger than me, and I almost feel like I should treat her like a lesser officer, but I can't. And they're talking, they're having this like kind of last dinner because they're basically waiting for the other ship to come pick up the followers. And Lunzi's like, let me go through your records to see if I can find your traitor, your saboteur. Let me see if fresh eyes can do something that you and your security guy can't. Let me see what I can find. And she's going through the records, and there's one that she stops on that was stopped on by Sassinak herself a few times. And that is Prosit. And she says, this is the guy. It's impossible for him to exist. And she's like, why? Lunzi says, well, because he comes from a clone colony. And Sassinak's like, what? What's a clone colony? I don't... She's like, give me the record. Give me your medical guy. And let me talk to him. So they're talking over this thing, and she's like, pull up these records and these records. And they find that all of these journal articles and all of these things that have mention about the clone colonies no longer exist. She looks at Sassinak, and Lunzi says, you have a bigger problem than just a saboteur on your ship. Somebody's erasing your files. All your files. And it's not just your files, but it's probably across the board, because nobody seems to know about this. When, I look at this stuff when it first began. I was on a board, an ethics board, to say whether or not this was something that should be done or not. So in the end, basically, Lunzi feels she doesn't really want to go back to just back to school and doing, getting her education upgraded and then going back out and doing a job, doing a mission or whatever. Remember, she was fleet intelligence. So Sassinak says, well, how about if you become like an analyst for me? It's a special position. I'm still, even though you're my great great great, I'm still your superior. And Lunzi says, yeah, I think I'd like that. And there's another one of the people that were on Lunzi's expedition teams to Irida that she is trying to get, by the name of Igar, who is a heavy worlder who isn't as big as they are, but he's not necessarily a lightweight either. And he's like bellowing and outside of our office and saying, we've been lied to all this time. We were told that this planet was going to be ours, and it's really the Theks, those pyramid thingies from the Death of Sleep. It becomes their planet that they claimed millions and millions of years ago. And Igar's like, we've been duped this whole time. We've been lied to all this time. And Sassinak looks at him and says, look, you join me as an analyst. You'll learn new things, special things. And you'll make a difference. He's like, but be courteous and helpful to people, and they will like you. Don't walk around with a swagger that you're all tough. That will turn people off and will turn people against you. And he says, okay, yeah, I'll do this. So the story closes with the three of them now. They're sort of this like tripartite team. And where things go now, obviously they're going to be looking at busting more planet pirates, which is what the series is called. I thought it was good. I mean, it's a long read, or at least it reads long to me. But there's a lot that goes on. And, I mean, there's a lot that I left out. Because I could sit here for an hour and a half and tell you, try to go over every single thing that happens in the story. Every relationship she has and what happens to that relationship. But, I don't have that kind of time, and I know you don't either. So I try to keep it on the briefer side. The one thing that I do know that's kind of funny is that Sassinak is like 46, 47, I think, when they come across Lunzi. Lunzi's 36, a decade younger. I just find that so weird. But leave it to sci-fi minds to do that to you. So I gave this one a 4.8 out of 5, same as I did the Death of Sleep. I thought it was good. There's a lot that happens. There's not a ton of downtime in it, really. But you have to kind of pay attention. And I'm not like a big sci-fi reader. I'm just starting to get into it. So with the whole outer space thing and the planet hopping and the hopping here and the heavy G and light year speed and it might take us like 5 years to get there compared to 100 years. That's stuff I got to get used to. But I think for diehard sci-fi fans who haven't read this, I think you'd like it. I think I do. So yeah, 4.8 out of 5 stars. So with that, again, please like, subscribe, turn on notifications so you know when new videos come on out. Leave a comment down below. That way I can, comment back. I love hearing from you. Let me know if you think I should read the Irida books about the dinosaurs and the dinosaur planet and survivors. And also spread the word. It helps me out, and I really appreciate it, and I appreciate all your support. So with that, until next time, as always, keep YouTube literate, and God bless.